Some of our students always ask us, like, I'm in my 50s, or, I'm turning 60 soon. Is it too late to start?
You can work for corporations all your life, but at the end of the day, the corporation still goes on. It doesn't rely on one individual. I was one of those that figured, I put in, 110% into that career, but longer term, you've got to start thinking about yourself and your family and leaving a legacy.
Decided to come back and retire in Singapore for good just over a year ago. Yeah. So now I'm doing a lot of volunteer work and I'm paying full attention on my portfolio of properties. Yeah.
Great, living the dream. Just collecting rent every month and managing your portfolio.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. We have Murray today and also Eng Soon. So wonderful that you can join us today. Maybe as we start, maybe I'll just ask you to share a little bit about yourselves. Either of you can go first.
Okay, I'm Murray Cooper, and I was born in Australia. I've been living in Asia for now 20 years, and my line of business is trade compliance, and I am very interested in real estate investment.
Great, thanks for that, Murray. A little bit about yourself, Eng Soon.
Yeah, my name is Eng Soon. I've just retired not too long ago, just over a year.
Yay.
But I've been working abroad for almost more than 35 years. So I'm basically I was basically based in New Zealand. So I was there for more than 35 years. So decided to come back and retire in Singapore for good.
Mm-hmm.
So and that was about just over a year ago. Yeah. So now I'm doing a lot of volunteer work and I'm paying full-time attention on my portfolio of properties. Yeah.
Okay, great, living the dream. Just collecting rent every month and managing your portfolio.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Great. Do you mind sharing with our listeners how young both of you are? I'll start with Eng Soon.
I'm 64.
64. Wonderful. Yes, Murray.
And I'm 79.
Nice.
Yeah.
Going strong, yes. I remember I met Murray when, some of our students always ask us, like, I'm in my 50s, or, I'm turning 60 soon. Is it too late to start? And I always tell them, well, we have our students in our 60s, and my oldest student is 76, and that's when we met. But I forget that we all grow older every year.
Yeah.
So Murray is now 79 years strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say to that? If people are wondering, like, hey, if I'm like 50s, 60s, I'm thinking of investing in property or learning how to invest in the UK, is it too late? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's ever too late. The only too late is I'd wish I'd met you 10, 15 years ago rather than 3 or 4 years ago. And age is but a number. I really mean that. It's the attitude and, the ability to want to learn more, step outside of your comfort zone, and just generally be open-minded. So as long as you're open-minded, doesn't matter whether you're 18 or 80, you can still achieve what you need to achieve.
Love that. 18 or 80.
Yeah.
Soon we'll have a big celebration next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. What about you, Eng Soon? Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, doesn't matter how short the runway is, as long as you're willing to take the first step. That's the main thing. I mean, you got to take the first step, get into it, and then you'll find that it's not that frightening after all. Yeah.
Yeah, typically it's the fear of the unknown, or before you buy your first property, isn't
That's
it?
correct, yeah.
That there's a little bit more uncertainty in it. Yeah. Tell us a bit about your experience, buying your first property in the UK. I mean, obviously you came on board with us and we worked together on board the mentoring. Were you still nervous when you bought your first property?
Yeah, I was quite skeptical to start with. My wife really dragged me into this program kicking and screaming, and now I'm the one that's driving the whole process and enjoying it. That the first one, you learn new things and you're meeting new people. I think the important thing was that you laid out the power team. We had access to accountants, lawyers, project managers for refurbishment. So you being there to help support us was a big thing that helped us. But yeah, sure, nervous to start with, but once you get that first one out of the way, you learn. You make a few little mistakes along the way, but mainly that was more in documents and what have you, and clerical stuff, not financial.
Right. I remember your wife sharing with me that usually when she's on YouTube, she would always skip the ads, and somehow that day she was cooking. And her hands were dirty, and she couldn't click skip, for example. And then she watched it. It was like, this is so interesting. I'm going to sign up and learn more about how to invest in the UK and plan for our retirement. But that's little stories like this always make me realize that I think nothing really happens in life by chance. Even us in this room right now, or whoever's listening to this, we think it's by chance, but I think every moment is just gift, isn't it? Yeah. And whoever's listening, you're definitely not listening to this by chance. Your thoughts, like your first property, were you nervous?
We bought our first apartment back in 2021, and we took the deep dive. We didn't know anything about property investment. And thanks to my wife, she was saying that, hey, we're not getting any younger, so I think very soon we're going to retire. We need an alternative passive income. So she suggested, why don't we try property investing, even though at that time we didn't know anything much. So we took the leap of faith and we bought our first apartment after attending some seminars. So we decided to buy an apartment, and then we got a hang of it and we started buying a second apartment, a third apartment. And then we realized that, we're actually treading on a dangerous route because we didn't know anything about property investment. We should try and get ourselves up to speed with, the right way to invest in property. And so we signed up for your, that's how we met you. And I think it was a blessing in disguise, to be honest. We learned so much thing from your seminar, and your mentorship was superb. Yeah. So that gave us more confidence, and we went on to build our portfolio from there. Because we were much confident than before. Before it was like dabbing in the dark, whether this is the right one. We don't know for sure. The numbers looks good the way it was presented to us, but we didn't know how to do our due diligence, for instance. But after attending your seminar, it was very educational, very practical.
Great. I mean, on that note, something that some of our students do wonder before they want to perhaps engage our services to help guide them, teach them our systems and processes and stuff is, a few things, right? One is, can they do it themselves? Just go online and search or watch YouTube. I think some of you might have attended other seminars. Tell us a little bit about your experience there, and then how was your experience different with us?
Well, maybe I can start first. Back in 2021, when my wife and I decided to go on property investment, we didn't know who to approach. So by chance, we came across a property seminar based in Singapore. So they presented the numbers, and they teamed up with a fellow developer. So they were trying to sell this apartment.
It's a new built apartment, is it?
Yes, it is. So we look at the numbers. We didn't know how to decipher whether it's really good, but just based on what is shown on paper, the numbers look really good. 20% interest. Why not? And you can't even get 2% in Singapore. Yeah. So the numbers looks all right. They were persuasive enough to convince us to buy the apartment, but that was it. The after service wasn't there. There was no guidance, unlike your mentorship. They have follow-ups, but that's only with all the legal stuff. But from the mentorship itself, there's no follow-up. You're there on your own once you sign on dotted line. Yeah, so there was a very big difference between those seminars and your mentorship course. Yeah, because I remember quite vividly that you were hand-holding us to secure our first freehold property in the UK. And that was superb. It was painless, absolutely painless. And the experience was superb for us because, we told ourselves this is exactly the kind of mentorship we want. We've been to 2 other mentorship prior to yours,
Oh wow.
and in comparison, is no in no way um, any better than yours. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that, Eng Soon. I'm not paying Eng Soon to say this, by the way, nor Murray. Maybe help us understand like what was different, with the other mentorships. I mean, you don't have to name the other providers, but what do you think was different, and why was ours what you were hoping for?
What I was hoping for is a mentor that can at least guide me through right up to the first purchase of my property, go through the numbers with me, highlight what I should be looking for, guide me in my due diligence, what to look out for. That's the minimum. And at least also looking for a mentor to share his or her experience, what to avoid. And also, I think the most important thing is the follow-up. Once you've decided to buy a property, I need a mentor to be there to see through, especially with his team of different experts, like for example the accountant, the lawyer. We didn't know who to approach, but that part of the service was not there in the when I attended those 2 seminars.
Mm-hmm.
So we were pretty much in the dark, trying to get hold of whoever we came across on Google or whatever, and try our luck. Hopefully they are not the run-by-night kind of lawyers, accountants.
It's not the best way to build a portfolio, is
no,
it?
No, not at all. No. So it was quite scary. So there wasn't a very good experience at all until we met up with you, and that's where the big difference lies.
Mm. Yeah. I think from there you scaled your portfolio as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Once we gained the experience and with your, with the guidance from you, our confidence went up from 0 to whatever, and we were confident to we were convinced ourselves that we have enough help and support to build this property portfolio.
Yeah.
And that's where we went. That's how we went with building our portfolio. Yeah.
That's great. I remember there was once you were doing, I think, was it 2 or 3 deals at a time?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your portfolio at present. How many have you grown at Golden Goose portfolio, and kind of gross rents or cash flow?
We have about 4 properties in the portfolio. So the range is above 5K per month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
is that in Sing dollars?
No, pounds.
Oh, in pounds. Okay.
Yeah. So
nice.
So there was quite a comfortable cash flow for us in terms of monthly stream of cash flow, passive income. So and the fact that we were planning to retire, well, in this case, because of the stream of passive income, I was able to retire earlier than expected.
How much earlier than expected?
I retired in early 2023. So 62.
Okay.
And I was hoping to retire at 65. So it's 3 years earlier.
Nice.
Yeah.
You got back 3 years of your time.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll ask you, a little bit more about what retirement and that time freedom has got you in a bit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bounce to Murray. I'm sure he's been waiting to share his experience.
Yeah, I think comparing the Golden Goose program with others, what I find interesting is that others are either focusing on a specific portfolio of properties that are under construction and brand new, harder to digest and understand, and then there were others that had an entry fee of like 75,000, whereas what I felt comfortable with the Golden Goose program was that you said this program works for anywhere in the world, and I've proven that it works in Australia and the UK, and the other thing is that the others don't offer the help and support that that you do and your team does. I found them brilliant, and quick responses at 9 o'clock at night or early in the morning. Whereas the others are more fixed in their program and inflexible. That's what I found.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that both of you credited your wives for dragging you to this.
Yeah.
So all the ladies listening, yeah. Or even all the men, we need to, I guess sometimes we all need a little bit of a nudge from each other, because otherwise life goes by, isn't it? Like we work for, I don't know, you mentioned 30 some years overseas, and I know you were commuting to and fro with your family, was based here. And you were a lot on the road, traveling.
Yeah, 4 decades on the road.
Tell us a little bit about that,
Well, I've been working in, as I mentioned earlier on, trade compliance and projects all around the world. And I've been fortunate enough to work in South America, in Russia, Eastern and Western Europe, Africa, and heavily in this region, in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Vietnam. And, that really took my focus away from really thinking about myself. I was locked in to work, and, you opened my eyes on saying, well, hold on, there's another world out there. You can get some passive income in real estate. So, it's really changed the way I think. It's transformational for me.
Yeah. I remember a specific moment, Murray. This must be three some years back. We know each other for a while now. We've become friends, right? And I remember there was once, I think you wrote to me or we had a call, and you said that you need to build your portfolio urgently for your wife and for your daughter. I remember that moment. You said, can we do it? I remember I looked you in the eye. I told you, let's do it, man. I think in 1.5 years later, you built a solid portfolio, good income. Tell us a bit about that moment where you said, hey, I need to do this quickly and I need to do it now.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I came down with a serious illness, and colon cancer, and it felt normal. And then I was very sick, and I went through a program, and then suddenly you think, oh my God, this I really need to have myself better organized financially and leave a legacy. So it was really a moment that awoken me and said, I really need to do something. And, you can work for corporations all your life, but at the end of the day, the corporation still goes on. It doesn't rely on one individual, So, but that individual, and I was one of those that figured, I put in, 110% into that career. But, longer term, you got to start thinking about yourself and your family and leaving a legacy. And, real estate investment and passive income is one way of doing that.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit, fast forward through that time where you decided you wanted to focus on yourself, leave a legacy for your family. Where are you at now, in terms of your portfolio?
Yeah, we have 6 properties, and we've worked on the programs that you've set up to do the due diligence for all of those. And, I can remember looking at a slide that you showed us in the workshop back in 2021, and it was this house was just a mess inside, and you were talking about adding value. And, you have a story with one that we got in Wigan where, the photographs of that place actually shocked me, but you could see that, hey, here's a 3-bedroom place we can convert into 4 bedrooms and, do maybe social housing. It'd be good for that. And, it's worked out really well. And, I've enjoyed being part of that.
Great. Tell us a little bit about your cash flow, your rentals that are coming in every month.
Yeah, we've probably similar returns. So looking at, I think the last is 8% return, and we're looking at single-digit flow every month coming in, but it's substantial and it's growing. I think the significant thing is I did a desktop evaluation of the properties last night, as a matter of fact. And would you believe that if you take the low range, it's a 33% increase in valuation from 2021 to now. And if you took the high range, I thought, no, that's dreamland, but it's a lot bigger.
Tell us how much was a lot bigger in that.
77%.
33 to 77% across your portfolio.
Yeah. And I actually, when I did it, I thought, no, it can't be right. And I'll go back and take another look at it.
Yes.
And it was all desktop, done online, but the figures are there.
Yeah. And these are sold transactions supporting the value of the property.
Yeah, that's right.
Wonderful. That's exactly how we teach, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen a similar growth in your portfolio? I mean, maybe not 70%, but over time, the value of the property is going up.
Yes, it has. But it kind of varies depending on several factors. I mean, interest rate obviously is a very key factor. So if you're borrowing from the bank, then obviously the interest rate, the prevalent interest rate will have an impact on it. But overall, I would say that yes, we do see positive growth.
Yeah.
Not only in the equity of the property, but also in terms of the rental return.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great point, because and those who are thinking like, should I buy property? Should I wait, for the right time to buy property? And we often say you should buy property and wait, isn't it? Because then you have the benefit of the property going up in value and the rents going up in value over time as well. Yes. Yeah, the rent appreciation and the capital appreciation, and interest rates are coming down, which is going to boost the cash flow and the yield calculations, the yields that you're going to get on the property. I was just a little bit curious. I guess a common question we always get, and you've traveled the world, you live overseas. People often ask, why not Australia? Why not New Zealand? Why not a new built property? What are your thoughts on that? Like, why go through and buy a property that needs work in the UK? Isn't it more risky? Isn't it a lot more work? Why don't I just buy a new property in Auckland or in Perth or in Brisbane? Your thoughts?
Yeah, there's higher outlays in Australia and New Zealand. So, you're looking at almost 3 times the value. And I found that looking at the UK, especially in the Midlands area, there's some real gems there. And, I think adding value to an existing property that it may be run down and refurbishing it is the way to go. Like a newer property is, you take Melbourne. There's so many properties in the city centre of Melbourne at the moment that are empty. And, if I was an investor sitting there, I'd be worried about the voids in my rental income to start with. And, it may improve down the track, but right now there's an oversupply. So, your theory, what you taught us was, okay, do you do diligence, what sort of programs and projects are in this area? And every property that we've got is close to a hospital or a university. And, they generate a lot of people that need rental premises. And I don't think, no, we haven't in the period, we haven't had 1 week void of rent.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good stuff. How about you, Eng Soon?
I don't know much about Australia, but in the New Zealand context, it's really true. The capital outlay is very high. It is 3 to 4 times just for an ordinary house. And compared to the UK, that's relative to the UK capital outlay. This is about 3 to 4 times. On top of that, it's pretty hard to get tenants these days. Good tenants, I mean. And the interest rate is quite high.
This is in New Zealand.
Yes, so it's quite a challenge for example, for a graduate to actually secure property in New Zealand. So UK, on the other hand, is quite different in the sense that the capital outlay is relatively low.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt the capital appreciation may be as quick as you want it to be.
Yep.
But I guess the important thing for us is the assured, more or less assured monthly cash flow that you can expect. to supplement whatever income you have right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your thoughts on retirement planning, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are looking at you both in your 60s and 70s, approaching 80, and thinking, I'm sure there's lots of wisdom, and yeah, I'm sure you spend many nights thinking about this, planning for your retirement. Was there a moment, as your passive income was coming in, you're like, hey, actually, I don't need like millions and millions of dollars to retire. I just need to grow my portfolio and a few more thousand of passive income, and maybe I could leave my job earlier, or I could allow my spouse to have a more comfortable lifestyle. Talk us through your thought process. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big question that people nearing retiring age always ask is, how much do I need to survive? And they're looking at the big package to have. And I think you hit the nail on the head that to have a regular monthly income coming in. If I'm on a golf course, the money's still coming in. If I'm sitting down relaxing, there's still money coming in. So I think rather than worrying about how can I, accumulate sufficient funds to retire happily and do what I need to do, I think it's important to say, well, okay, let's still have some passive income coming in to pay the regular bills, to cover costs. I think that's important.
Yeah. And, for example, you shared earlier about going through a health challenge at that moment. You could want to work, but, you want to focus on your healing as well. And I guess having that recurring income coming in would be really handy. And I remember then that conversation we had, back to that conversation, I said, you want to do this? Sure, let's do it. And I think you were amazing. You did probably 3 or 4 properties within that year or year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And scaled your passive income to, I think easily 5,000 or 6,000, potentially more. And I was just so proud of you and your progress, because it always reminds me that, it's not just the circumstance in life that determines our actions, but it's who we are. Somebody in your situation might think, oh, I'm too old to do this and I'm going through this challenge. Maybe I should come back and revisit it later. But your response was one of, like, I remember you told me, I'm no young chicken anymore. I remember you said that. And you said, Dan, I need to do this fast. I said, sure, if you want to do that, let's do it. Let's if you're ready, strap on, let's go.
Yeah. And you were very supportive, and so were your team, and I appreciate that, and thank you. And it's been, a real education. As I said, it's been transformational for me. And, you learn something new on every purchase, and you can hold that for the next one as well.
Great. Anything to add to that?
Well, my best advice is that it's the most boring investment ever, but it gives you the best return in terms of your cash flow. For me personally, I wanted to retire early because, like Murray, my job is not a 9 to 5. It's almost 24 hours because I have people around the world to work with every day. So I've been doing that for 35 years or maybe more. So I've decided to tell myself that this is enough. Had a chat with Jane, and she was quite supportive, so I was able to retire early with the portfolio that we had at the time. The wonderful thing about property investment is that it doesn't stop there on your 3rd or 4th. Because it provides a passive income for you. You can always build on the portfolio anytime you want. Yeah. The second thing that I realize is that the more you procrastinate, the lesser time you have in building up your portfolio. So take that first step, take that first leap of faith, get into it. Obviously, have some guidance. Then you get past your that initial fear, and in replacement you get the confidence to build on it later on.
I mean, you guys are so positive. Big takeaway, and I mean this from my heart. I'm very inspired by both of you and your journeys as well. But it almost sounds too good to be true, right? Like, wow, you guys make it sound so easy, so good. Were there some challenges, on the in the journey that you faced? Tell us a bit about them, and how do you overcome
Yeah,
that? Yeah.
there's been a lot of challenges. I think the politics in corporations sometimes overwhelm you. There's issues. You're traveling. You're not home for somebody's birthday or christening or a wedding. You miss, and suddenly your family, goes. My daughter went from a baby that travelled with us when I was travelling to when she started school here in Singapore. She had to obviously stay here and go to school. And, the next thing you know, today she's 18 and she's going to university, and it's things go too quickly. You can get sidetracked on things you think are important at the time, but you're not thinking of yourself. And I think all individuals need to start thinking of themselves first and their family, obviously, but to think about what they can do to generate a passive income and live a more comfortable life, to not have to worry about where's that next dollar coming from to pay this bill.
Yeah, certainly challenges in the corporate life. I remember you sharing you being stuck in an airport. Was it a sandstorm or something? And
Yeah.
you had to come home to anniversary or wedding anniversary or something.
Yeah, and there's some things happen that you think it's meant to be sometimes. Like I missed a flight out of Columbus, Ohio, and that flight actually crashed in Los Angeles and wiped out the front rows of the plane, and that's where I would have been sitting. And so I think the good Lord up there looked after me in that case. But there's so many things that I often say to myself, it's time to write a book because I think it'll be a good seller.
Yeah, certainly this podcast would be a big gem of all the the stories and experience that you have to share. But a book, definitely, I'll get a copy of it when it's out. Your thoughts, Eng Soon, challenges that you had, either at work or in your property journey, and I'll come back to you later.
The challenges are pretty much from the work front because I work quite long hours and my team is all over the world, so it's kind of hard. Imagine you have to talk to somebody from India, and so the kind of lifestyle kind of make me question what kind of meaningful life do I want? At the end of the day, you start wondering, after 35 years, you start wondering whether is this the kind of life that you want. Okay, if it's not, then what is meaningful for you? Then I said, well, a meaningful life to me would be able to do two things. One thing is to be able to do things that I never had a chance to do because of time or whatever. The second thing is to be able to spend my time with my family, which I never had a chance to do because I was based in New Zealand. So those two are pretty big reasons for me to make a decision to quit and then focus 100% on building this property portfolio. Yeah.
Great. How do you spend your days now that you're retired? And
on that note, in the area of things that I would love to do, but never had a chance to do, but now I've been doing a lot of volunteering. I'm mentoring a Premier 3 girl at Tasik, Jurong. I'm also doing voluntary work, providing IT advisory to Dementia Singapore. Yeah, so thoroughly enjoyed it. So those are the things that I never imagined I would be able to do it. And now that I'm at home, I love cooking, so I cook for my wife.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah, so and she can focus on her job, and we have more time together. It works out really well.
I remember the conversation. Actually, now that because we know each other for a number of years now, 5 years. I remember that conversation we had as well, and I said, "How many more properties do you need to be able to retire?" And this before you retired, yeah. And then I think you said 2 or 3 more, and then that allow you to retire. And now we're working on the next ones to allow your wife to retire,
That's great.
a year or so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And actually that's, how do I say, it's as simple as that, and it's also as difficult as that, right? And each property, just give an idea of, the average price of a property in your portfolio, just for everyone to know. Is it like
It depends on the area, but I'd say average is 55 to 60
thousand
UK
pounds?
pounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Mine will be somewhere in the range between 80 to 100K.
80 to 100K. Yeah. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, right? Like between 60 or 80 or 100K pounds, you can have a freehold property in the UK, and that cash flows between 500 to 1,000 or 1,005 each month. And you don't need very many of these to pay the bills, right? Or to be able to buy back your time. Yeah, which is fascinating. How about challenges in your property journey? You mentioned earlier about filling in forms or, things that you were frustrated with. Yeah. I'm sure it's not a bed of roses.
It's there's been no showstoppers. I think the biggest one is understanding what documentation is required, meeting deadlines, and then you have to let go. You can't micromanage things because of distance rule and time zones and what have you, and rely on people that they're all well qualified and do the right thing. And I really haven't had any major difficulties. Sometimes you think, well, why is a refurbishment taking so long? And then you start to look at the scope of work and you think, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done here. And, just recently there was a lull in proceedings, but I knew that it's summertime in Europe and in the UK, Italy, everywhere, people disappear in August. They go on holidays, and so things do stop.
Yeah.
But as I say, no real showstoppers. But it's understanding the process and the flow of opening a bank account. What's the accountant going to help us with? What's the solicitor's role in this, and the project manager, and I think the key to the whole thing is to build relationships with the project managers.
Absolutely.
And they're the people that really make it happen.
I know you're going through a refurbishment. We were just chatting before this.
Yeah. And that's compared to others. This is rather minor. It's just updating beds and carpets and curtains and a few cupboards. And we're focused on social housing. And what I like about that is you can get contracts for 5 to 7 years, and the agreements are in place. There's an annual increase based on CPI, and there's no real management fees. So all those little savings add up at the end of the day. So you might get maybe a little bit less on the rent, but then you say, well, I'm not paying 10% here for a management fee or 5% here for whatever. So and there's no voids. I think that's what's important. And it's something in a discussion I had with you earlier. You mentioned social housing, and so I need to understand more about that. And we stayed away from uni students and what have you. And in social housing, everything so far has worked very good.
Great. On your end, challenges?
Challenges, yeah, we do have a lot of challenges before we met you. Because we took the bold step to purchase a couple of apartments, and there wasn't a power team like similar to yours, so we were desperately looking for who we can trust, like the lawyer, and all the legal papers. We didn't understand what it means, so we wanted a lawyer that has the patience to explain to us what are we actually getting ourselves into. So there was never the power team available, and even the when it comes to refurbishment, it's without the power team, you are left on your own to actually chase after them, chase the builder, you became you become the project manager in that sense, running after all the different people, the lawyers, the accountants, and so forth. And and one of the challenges is actually trying to get a account open in one of the main street banks, because you don't, because you have zero credibility. But in the UK, it's really hard.
Yeah.
So I mean the developer is not going to help you. You have to find ways and means to do that. So in your case, it was relatively a breeze, to be honest.
Yeah.
Your team is there. I can always step on their expertise, their advice. If they do not know, they'll find out. That's the whole idea. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have challenges prior to that, but now after meeting up with you and going through your mentorship program, it was absolutely, it's relatively painless after subsequent with the subsequent purchases.
And I guess you build confidence as you go, isn't it? The first one is a little bit more uncertain, and then once you've done it once, twice, thrice, it gets easier, and you get the momentum to scale your portfolio. And I think a transformation moment is always when the first rent hits the account. It's like, oh my gosh, that's real.
Yeah. It's nice to look at the bank statement and see that every month it keeps growing.
I think you both are particularly resilient amongst the, I think, compared to a vast majority of, I don't know, Singaporeans perhaps. Also because you've just worked so long hours. You've done 40 years, 30 some years, and you work around the clock. And that's also quite a sobering thought, isn't it? Because if people can spend 30 years working for, as an employer, an employee for an organization, for example, what is working 3 to 4 to 6 months on a property project? Which, yes, I mean, certainly there's some work involved, forms to fill in and people to liaise with, but then it pays you thereafter, month after month, isn't it? The ROI and the trade-off is can't be compared.
Yeah, there's time. You need to make time to do that, and but it's not time consuming. I think the big secret is communication and trust.
Tell us a little bit about like the impact in terms of family. You mentioned, I think some time back, about what we're doing here. We think that we are buying a property and getting a few thousand a month, or stuff like that. It allows us to retire a few years earlier. But the reality of this actually is it has generational impact, right? I'm sure you guys have thought of that, right? Tell us a little bit, like, what are some things you're starting to discover as you do this? One was the rent appreciating, the capital appreciating, and your thought on the generational impact of what you're doing.
I think that what we find interesting in our family, we have 2 teenagers now that have come to understand, what property investment is all about. And, they, instead of thinking, oh my God, how do I fund this bank loan? And when you give them the numbers and say, well, look at this, really the tenant is paying for all those costs. And, it is generational. And I can see that, there's 2 teenagers in our family and extended family that are really, really into it. And, they're finding that, hey, if they've got a decent job, they can get a longer bank loan than an elderly person like myself, which is quite short. But, overall, you can see that there are benefits of leaving a legacy, and, it's something you look at, okay, it's a regular income. It's not enormous, but it's useful.
Yeah.
And in covering the costs. And I think that, you can see that just goes on and on, unless you decide to sell everything up and move on. But, I don't see any reason for doing that.
Great. It's great you're getting the teenagers involved, because it's almost like a light switch, and they don't teach these things in school, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got a daughter that studied economics, and none of that's been taught to her. So we're having a discussion in the car just recently about, investment, and she started asking a lot of questions, which was interesting. And the big thing is to try and keep the teenagers away from the phone and social media, but use social media the right way.
Absolutely.
I think leaving a legacy for the kids has always been the top of the priority list for us. I have two boys. Well, they are no longer boys. They are actually adults now. They have their own life to lead. They have their partners. So leaving that legacy for them probably give them a head start in life, and they can focus on what they want to do in that regard. But having said that, I think the other point to take note is that your portfolio can be as big as you want it to be. It doesn't have to stop at 3 and 4. When it has met your objective, you can build on that over time. You can leverage on that by borrowing money from the bank and leverage on the equity of the properties, and then build your portfolio over time. For me personally, I think one of the best benefit for me is the fact that I always thought that when I retire, I will have a CPF to draw on to support me. But based on what I've gone through, I often question, do you want your life to be dictated by how much you have in a CPF? It can't be that way. So you have to balance. You have to ask yourself, if this is the kind of life that you want, is CPF alone going to be able to support you? Absolutely not. Most likely not. Yeah. So you have to think of an alternative way to supplement what CPF can give you. And the only thing I can think of is property investment, because you're going to get a assured monthly rental income that will supplement whatever CPF can provide for you. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that fixed amount. Like I say, if you're confident enough, you can build your portfolio over time as you gain that confidence.
That's a great point, right? I mean, I do think CPF Life is a great scheme that allows, I think, 1,000 sum as a bare minimum, in the retirement, which, as you say, if you want to have a similar lifestyle to when you're working, it's not going to be enough. But I guess every Golden Goose property that you buy gives you additional passive income. You're creating another CPF Life. And the benefit is that you can withdraw it at any time. If you want to grow, you want to buy another, you can, right? So that's I guess the beautiful part of it. You don't have to just be reliant on a cash flow that comes, but you can never see the capital until we pass. But in this case, you have flexibility and retaining control of the asset, and it still gives you that cash flow month after month. Yeah, I thought you guys spoke about that, wanted to lean in a little bit more, was the idea of lending. Can you get lending? I mean, you're close to 65, you're close to 80. Can you get lending in the UK? Have you got lending?
Yes. And it's, you've been able to introduce me to people that have been a big assistance there. So, but yeah, that was my thought. You tell people your age, hey, we don't want to lend there. And I was talking to one of the guys and said, yeah, well, that's okay. I lent. We set a guy up on a loan. He was 85. Okay, but no, there hasn't been any issue for me.
So even in your 70s, you were still able to get a loan in the UK for your property purchase. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, still find a property where the rent was more than the outgoing loan and still get a profit.
Yep.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't have any problem. I mean, there again, I want to emphasize the difference between your program and the other programs I've attended. I mean, your power team was there to help, including the broker, and it was very, very helpful. Mm. I was able to get 75% of the loan to value.
75% of the loan to value?
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So we recently got the broker to help us to secure a loan on one of the property. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So and I was able to use that to increase my portfolio by another property. I'm in the midst of completion at the moment.
Yes, I remember that one. Yeah. Nice. I mean, it's so exciting, and I guess inspiring that you're going through a refurbishment right now. You're in the midst of growing your portfolio, which I know is going to add to the income, which will allow your partner to retire sooner. And that's the approach, isn't it? Every 1 or 2 years, buy another property. You could use the income that you have. You could use the appreciation and borrow off that, even up to 75%, even if you're in your 60s. That's great, isn't it? And have your tenants be able to pay for the outgoings and still get a profit. Nice. I wanted to tap a little bit into your wisdom, because we don't have very many 30 to 40 years, in our life, right? And you guys have worked 30 some 40 years. What is some advice you would give to, say, your 40 or 50-year-old self?
I'd say don't wait. Do it now. There's no time like the present. And I think, if my wife is listening to this, she would say, he waits too long. Let's wait and see what's going on. And I think, if I had my time over again, I would have got into property investment a lot earlier than what I did. It was something that I didn't see the light shining for me at that stage, because I didn't understand it and I didn't have time. But for individuals, the younger generations, I'd say focus on yourself and your family. Look at what you need to be doing to get yourself a passive income, that you're not beholden to somebody that's paying you a salary once a month. Certainly do things quicker, and and understand that with all these investments, if you do your due diligence correctly and follow the Golden Goose program, there's really not a lot of issues to concern yourself with.
Sure. So the idea of focusing on yourself and doing it quicker.
Yeah.
Well, I totally agree with Murray. But start young, build the habit of building a portfolio for yourself. You have to start somewhere, but start as soon as possible. Start young, because at 30, 35, you have a pretty long runway to build your portfolio. The other thing is try and get into the game, understand the game, learn the ropes as soon as you can, and then don't rush into it. I mean, there will always be hurdles, but you learn along the way, and you get better each time you purchase the next property. I mean, that's life, right? I mean, you fall, you get up, and get on with it again.
Yeah. If somebody's listening to this and they think that it's too late for them, what would you tell them?
It's never too late.
Yeah, I'd say it's never too late. Get out there, go for it, and the program works, and there's really an opportunity for regular passive income. So just do it. I say Nike, just do it.
It's never too late. It's only too late when you procrastinate. If you keep thinking when's the most perfect property available, and if you keep waiting for that perfect property to come to you, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Actually, we had that conversation, right? Because we were talking about where's the best area, what's the best strategy, what's the best property, and maybe we were looking for deals that are, 9%. I only want deals that are 9 or 10% and above. And I remember sharing with, I think both of you, that you pass up a lot of great deals that are at 8%, for example, and then the monies are set in a fixed deposit or in a bank that's earning you, 0 point something or 2%. Why not make that 200 or 300% more and get the money working harder and learning at the same time? I mean, a lot of times people wonder, and we wander through life trying to figure things out, in our 30s, 40s, 50s. So you guys, a Chinese saying is you've eaten more salt than people eat rice, right? So the wisdom I'm gleaning from you is really spending time with the family whilst the kids are young, for those who have kids, right? Because once the time is gone, they turn 18 and, their life begins, and you're left with an empty nest. And a lot of times people procrastinate. They think, yeah, maybe I'll look into my investments, but later. But what I'm really learning from you is to do it now. That there's never really a best time, but just get started and just do it, as you mentioned, right? So thanks so much, guys, for joining us today. Really enjoyed this conversation. And any final parting thoughts, words of advice?
No, all I can say is go for it. Don't procrastinate. It's never too late. And wish you all the very best.
Yeah, I think that similarly, that's just wish everybody the best and just do it.
All right, great. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.